Time that we put aside every week to answer your questions about international dating, international relationships, cross-cultural romance, and the like. And you guys get to participate. In fact, you get to drive the show, because if you look at that little green box above me, it'll tell you how you can text your questions to us throughout the show. So you click the green box, send us your questions. I'll see them on my little admin panel here, and we'll answer them throughout the show tonight. So we do this every Monday night. Glad you're here. If it's your first time here, we got something really kind of special for you. And some of you guys I know have been watching me for a long, long time. So I've mentioned Renee Piane many times. In fact, I was at a seminar yesterday in Jacksonville, and your name came up. So we talked a little bit about how great it is to have a woman's perspective on the silly things that men do to not necessarily make a good impression when we really want to make a good impression. So Renee Piane is our great dating coach, and we've had this wonderful relationship with Renee for a long, long time. And she stopped by today, so we're taking complete advantage of the opportunity to introduce Renee Piane to you guys. So Renee is awesome. Absolutely love Renee, and we'll have an incredibly fun time tonight. Just introduce yourself to the lads out there, Renee. Tell them a little bit about what you do.
Hi, all of you guys. Many of you may have heard me on the calls, and I'm so happy to be here live in Arizona with Bud. We've been at many seminars, and he's fantastic. I've been watching his show, and I am here in town filming some love advice, and I'm just happy to be here to give you some of my heartwarming advice to say never give up on love. And this whole job that this company does is really important for people around the world that are looking internationally, and I know people are a little confused in the dating game. So that's why I'm here today, to give you some of my years of experience to help you win in the game of love. So that's why I'm here.
Well said. So Renee gives you guys great advice on things like style, things, dating tips, of course, how to make a good impression, things that women are aware of and watching for when they're evaluating us as life mates that we may not necessarily be dialed into. And she's really terrific, and just great answers and great energy. So this will be a lot of fun tonight. So you guys can ask whatever questions you want to ask tonight, but you should take advantage of Renee's presence here and ask your women's perspective dating advice questions to Renee. Just send us the questions, and I'll be happy to read them aloud, and we'll get them answered for you. And while we're talking to you tonight, we've got, again, some great video from recent tours to Ukraine. We've got tours starting out in Ukraine and Costa Rica this week. We've got singles tours coming up in July, which I will be leading, and I just know that's going to be a huge group of guys. So we've got plenty of time before those summer tours come, and guys will often ask, what can I be doing right now in the next 90 days to prepare myself? You just said something about how, a lot of men are out there haven't given up on love yet. We don't want them to give up on love, because finding love is still very possible, even though a lot of us would think that our options are limited. But if you just think outside the box and use the technology and the resources that are available to you, there's lots of love to be found. But then once guys get that idea, the next question is, okay, what do I do now? Now that I'm thinking of traveling and meeting somebody, what are some things that I can do to prepare myself for that next relationship, especially if I haven't dated in a while? Yeah. So I'll throw that at Renee for openers, guys. You guys send your questions. Click the green box right above me and send us your questions, and we'll answer them for you tonight, okay?
Yeah.
So what do you think, Renee? If a guy's got 60 days, 90 days, hasn't been dating in a while, what are some things that he could be doing?
Well, first he has to really ask himself, is his heart open to love? Because love, I have to say, what is life for without love? I mean, you may have money, you may have success, great friends, and you have the other parts of your life together, but the choice of your life partner is one of the most important choices. So I always ask the guys and the women that I coach, are you really ready for love? Like, have you really prepared, like what you're saying? And that is not just, it's about the mental preparedness of you representing your lifestyle to women that you meet, because it's a lifestyle match. Your religion, the important values, the things that are the most important to you. And many of the men that come here are successful men, people that have built or are building their life, and then all of a sudden they're looking around and go, I have an empty house, I want to have some kids, right? So women have books everywhere, all over the world. Women have books about their Prince Charming, and who and how this person is magically supposed to be manifested to them. And they want you to understand the way that they think, but often men don't know the way women think. So that's what I've been doing for 29 years. I've been trying to help men understand the secrets into the minds of women, and teaching men all the things that you're talking about, the way they present themselves. So in this next 60 to 90 days, are you ready for love? That's what I want to ask.
I remember a quote by Deepak Chopra. I talk about it a lot on our webinars and at the seminars, where he says, if you have a big question to answer, go out in solitude and the voice will come to you. And sometimes that's uncomfortable for us because sometimes it's a painful voice that we're hearing, or I talk about how sometimes we go out in solitude and the voice that comes to us tells us we've got to do something that we know to be in our best interest, but it's a difficult thing to do. But how do guys prepare themselves for love? Do you see guys spending time alone and coming to the decision of how ready they are for love? Do you think it's important to write things down, that are priorities in the next relationship?
Absolutely. I've written a couple books that we'll talk about later, but in my work, it's really all about what in your mind does love look like. As I've taught classes, the first question I would ask is, what does marriage and commitment mean to you? So it's a reflection, really. So if you think of it as ball and chain or stopping you from having your freedom, you might have a part of your mind open to love and the other part fighting you, right? So if you have this one part that doesn't believe that love is going to happen for you, and then the other part that wishes that it would, you have to come together with the parts so that you'll go for one goal. So it's just like business. This is your plan for love. Like, do you even have a plan? So I tell people to start from the inside and then go to the outside, and that's what I do in my work. So we can talk a little more about that.
Interesting. It just reminds me of the classic conflict between the heart and the mind, right? Yes. The emotional state, and there's the part of us that rationalizes whether or not we're ready for love, and there's always, most of the time, there's that little conflict. I suppose if you meet the right person, that little conflict goes away, right?
Well, interestingly enough, I wanted to say, because this is an interesting topic, is that if you have had experiences in your past when you were a teenager, like right now, let's ask the guys, like, think about this. Who was the first girl that you loved? Like the first vision of love that you ever had, right? And usually guys will raise their hand, and it was Susie Johnson in 6th grade, right? So, maybe you can think about this, Bud, we'll ask you, but who was the first person that you loved? And usually you'll have a type that you've chosen. And through the years, I remember, depending on what age you are, you might have a role model that was a movie star. Or, I remember one of my clients said, Bridget Bardot. He was in his 50s, and that was his role model for what he was looking for throughout his whole life. So he always, wanted to be with a breasty, very sexy, with the long hair. So he had a type. So most men have a type. And then if you got hurt when you were young by someone, sometimes you get marks on your heart, and then you might have a part of you that blocks love. So it's really important to ask yourself if you have still some crust in your heart, and that would stop you from really going forward.
Do you think women can pick up on whether or not a guy is completely open and ready for love, or if there's some part of him that's kind of reserved and holding back?
Absolutely.
Do you think women can identify that conflict within somebody?
They can. They have questions. Boom, boom. They fire. Haven't you noticed? Now, I ran rapid dating events for 10 years in Los Angeles and different states, even here in Arizona, and I used to see people get blindsided by questions, because men and women, just like when you write your profile for Loveme.com, it's very important to know thyself, right? So when you go on a date, whether you're going on a trip or you're practicing your dating now to get yourself, in the zone of confidence, we want you to identify what are your strengths, right? Every man has something wonderful about him. And if you don't know what that is, women are going to figure it out. We're going to do this little thing with your mind with all of our questions. And if one or two of those questions trigger a negative response from a negative thing that happened to you in your past with your ex, with a girl that dumped you or used you or whatever happened, right? The woman then senses, because it'll trigger an emotion, then the emotion affects your body language. Your eyes will drop, the tone of your voice changes, right? So when I work with men, sometimes I become their date, right? I sit with them and I go, I'm going to pretend that I'm here with you, asking all the questions that women are going to ask you. And sometimes men, when they hear the recording of the call, can't believe how their voice tone changes and their vibe changes from that moment.
We don't even notice sometimes that we're projecting that we're really uncomfortable with some things that we haven't quite reconciled, or just things that we're uncomfortable about in previous relationships and such, and we transfer that outwardly very easily, I suppose.
And men, all of you wonderful men that are watching this, men are more sensitive when they get hurt than women, right? We have posses of women, we get together, we have groups. I have these love support groups, and what do we talk about the whole time? You. We talk about you. And the women all band together and we support each other. But who do men have to support them? You know, a lot of men are very private. Super successful people, they're very private about their pain. They don't want other guys to know they got shot down by a girl that they were dating, or you might have rescued a girl that was a damsel in distress, and then you gave and gave and gave, and then all of a sudden she disappears and goes and marries your best friend. I mean, the pain that men go through when it happens, it can destroy your ego and your confidence, and you can't let that happen. You need to get support. Like, you give these guys support as they're going through this process, but it's really important for them to have a support system as you go through, or guidance. And that's why I've been in this industry for so long, because I see that men have a little boy and then they have this really powerful part of themselves. And if a woman taps into your little boy on a date, sometimes it sinks the date. It ruins the whole thing.
Wow. I would imagine that most men, when we're recovering from a relationship or trying to get ready for the next relationship, we're not going to women. There just aren't women around us to go to most of the time, right? We're going maybe to solitude, or maybe to other men or friends or whatever, right?
Pizza and porno. I've done surveys. Men watch a lot of television, or they're on the internet watching pretty girls, or they're here at Loveme.com looking for love. That's why they're here. And there are women worldwide that are looking for the same thing as well. But they still are designed, they want you to have a man, they want you to be a man with a plan. And that is what is most important, to be a man with a plan and get the support you need. And that's why it's so cool that there's this. There's you, there's me, there's this company to help people find love in different parts of the world, but more importantly, inside of yourself first, so that no matter where you are, you're branding and marketing yourself everywhere you go.
Well said. One of the great revelations, really the great revelation of our seminars when we do them, we have a whole bunch of them coming up, I'll talk about them in a little bit, is that there is absolutely a very real possibility, no matter how bad it's been up to this point, to go out and find love. There are a lot of lonely people in the world, more than you think, and sometimes some of the most secure-looking people you've met are actually very lonely inside, and might surprise you sometimes. But if you sit back in the dark in your virtual relationship, you never have a chance to realize that. So you've got to get up, get ready, get out there and find love. Guys, I'm visiting with Renee Piane tonight, our great dating coach. Are you still from Los Angeles?
I live in Los Angeles, and I work internationally with people as well through Skype, and offer them a lot of insights into their minds, because our minds control our body language, and our body language then turns into flirting. And if you're feeling that pain inside of your heart, it stops you from fully saying, here, I'm a great guy, I have everything to offer. And the ones that I see the most, that are the shyest ones, are really highly intellectual doctors, attorneys, Indian chiefs. They got these big companies, and when it comes to love, they don't want to admit to anyone that they're having a problem. So they are the ones that want love probably even more than the players that are out there that all these men are wishing that they were like. And women really want a man that has a good heart and a good soul, but you have to feel that inner core confidence that it isn't just about your company, it isn't just about your money or your medical degree or whatever degree that you have. It's about you wanting to share a life with someone and making a woman feel that you're really open and available to share a life, not just talk about your boats or your cars or all your stuff, because a lot of successful men that go on these trips, they have a lot of stuff, but they may not be presenting it in a way, I don't know, many of them, I talk to on these calls. It's all about really being confident that you are a man that's ready for love.
So interesting. I hear guys all the time tell me what they perceive their strengths are. And their strengths are, I'm 53, but I really look 33, and I have a full head of hair, and I have no problem attracting women. And that just sounds like you have a lot of strengths and a lot of confidence. But I think what Renee's speaking to is obviously, what do you have to offer somebody in a love relationship? And absolutely be focused on that. Have it clearly defined so you can communicate it on the spot anytime. Like Renee said, you're just constantly marketing yourself. And if you're doing that modestly, that's absolutely a great consistent message. And over time, you feel more confident because you've bought into your own marketing, which is probably a good idea. I would imagine it's hard for some guys to define what their strengths are and wrap confidence around that sometimes, I guess, when we're dating for the first time in a long time.
I think you're right. They don't realize sometimes it takes another person to meet with you and think, oh my God, what an amazing guy. But if you're looking at media and what society says that is perfect, it's not about being perfect. It's about being perfectly happy with who you are and how you feel about yourself, because a woman can tell. And after doing events where people met for the 5-minute date face to face, I would literally see people with body language crossed, heads down. You know, you could tell that they walked in without that confidence. So they already were a failure before they walked in. So before you leave to go on a trip or you leave the house even any day, most men have sort of a pattern that they do. Every day they do the same things. And then they'll say, well, I feel like I'm kind of a boring guy. So I always say, if you're bored, you're boring, right? So what can you do to enliven? Because a woman's going to say, well, what do you like to do for fun? You know, what do you do on your days off? How do you spend your time alone? They're asking you questions to find out if you're any fun. Because life and love is supposed to be fun. And now that I have been married for almost 13 years, I said to my husband, I'm fun. I want to have some fun, you know, and he was like a workaholic businessman. And over the years, I have lightened him up and helped him to become more fun. And I have to say, life is too short to be so serious just about work. So don't go bragging all about your successes. You have to talk about why your life and her life are going to intertwine to make an extraordinary life, because you're looking for extraordinary. You're not just looking for like somebody to cook and clean for you, because you know, I'm working, you know, so I cook and clean sometimes he does, and we kind of talked all about it. So once you know yourself, like what, you know, like when I meet with somebody, I say, well, describe the perfect type of woman for you, right? So I'd love somebody to call in and say, describe the perfect type of woman for you. Call us, let's talk, or write in, because sometimes men go, well, I don't know, she has to be pretty and she has to have values. And I'm like, well, what values? What kind of values? Does that mean you pray together? What would you want to do together? What would a day-to-day lifestyle be like with you? What would it be like to be with Bud every day? Like, or, you know, Bud's awesome. A lot of fun. You would be fun. I can tell you, Bud.
When I'm in a good mood, yeah.
You're in a good,
some of my coworkers would probably argue that here and there, but
we all have our cranky moods, but to know your what brings you joy, really.
This is Renee Piane, guys, our great dating coach. You can ask your questions directly to her for at least the next 30 minutes or so. Green box right above me says text us your questions. Click it and text us your questions. We've got a few questions that I'll run by you right now, Renee.
Okay, let's check it out.
Come on, guys. Great opportunity for us tonight. Let's see. Many women are interested in yoga and spirituality. I'm a U.S. citizen, live in the U.S. Have you had any men of Indian origin on our tours? Sanjay, just so you know, yes, we have. You've worked with men from India.
Awesome. I mean, I live in Los Angeles, so there's a lot of different cultural communities within communities, and women love a man that's into his spiritual presence. So depending on where you live, like I find that a lot of people live in places that have restrictions in certain things. So if you don't live in a place that is like that, then you can seek out those seekers within that community. Find your tribe. Like women, we have like tribes. Like that's why men go, God, the women all travel together, right? Men need to have support systems for their social lives. So it would be cool to go to yoga retreats. Women go to yoga retreats, or go to a yoga center that's popular within your area, or spiritual centers, more metaphysical, because there's way, I have to say, I don't know what age you are, it doesn't matter about your religion, it's more about your spirit, your joy when you're doing something. But spiritual communities are a great place for men to meet women, churches and spiritual communities, because if you get involved, like it's being involved in charities, it's being involved in spiritual activities that are giving back in community. And I actually used to do a television show called The Good News Network about the who, what, when, where, and how to get involved. So for you, as a spiritual gentleman, go to look where you can give your soul, and other spiritual women will be there and see you and want to connect with you. And it doesn't matter about your culture unless you are obligated to be with someone in your culture. A lot of, Indian people marry and they have to be, arranged and all that. So if that's not your thing, then the whole doorway of love is open to you internationally with Loveme.com and in the world in general, because people are not as strict anymore. They're just not.
So what's interesting, Renee, is we, as you know, travel all over the world, China, Thailand, Philippines, Colombia, and Ukraine. And spirituality means very different things in some of these cultures. And yet we have men who are, I guess they'd probably identify as more or less Christian American, maybe Protestant American, something like that. And they want to go to a place like Thailand where you have women who are predominantly Buddhist, right? Very, obviously very different circumstances. In your work, have you seen couples who can have really high compatibility despite very different religious backgrounds?
It depends on the openness because of children. Because, like, for example, I'm Italian and I was raised Catholic. I'm more non-denominational because I work with all religions around the world. So I've studied different religions, and it can work with communication and with honesty and having the flexibility to allow your partner to have that faith that they want to have, and you're not going to, or kind of merge so that they can see what you're doing and you can see what they're doing. And accept, Buddhism is like that. It's like almost accepting, that acceptance of what someone believes, and they're allowed to do their meditations and their beliefs with their, with their practices, with meditations. And so it just depends on your communication skills, and if your children, allowing your children, how are they going to be raised? You have to have serious conversations about it, so that you're not having expectations of how you imagine it should be. Because I dated a lot of Jewish men, and they would say, it doesn't matter to me that you're not Jewish. And I said, well, that might not matter to you, but it will matter to your mother. And because I'm a family-oriented woman, and I'm a very family-oriented woman, and I wanted to marry someone. So this is an important part of this question, is if you're marrying a woman from another culture that has a different religion, find out how she was raised and see if the parents accept this, because you are marrying a family. You're marrying people's lineage. You're marrying the family and the beliefs of their lineage. So I was raised Catholic, and then I met a gentleman that had been divorced twice, and of course people were saying, oh my God, he's been divorced, and maybe you shouldn't do that. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged, by people in my family that were divorced telling me not to do what they did, right? But what I'm here to say is it's all up to you, and really looking at the family backgrounds to see if it's going to affect the cultural, battles between families. There was a Muslim gentleman that I worked with, and his parents sent him to Algeria to work with his uncle, and he was being forced to marry a woman that he didn't love. So his uncle said, come to Algeria and escape, right? So he had to go there and meet women there, but then he wasn't allowed to meet them without parents being present. So there's religions all over the world that have these strict rules. So his father was restricting him from marrying a girl there, and said, I will not give you your inheritance if you do it. And I was the intertwiner and opened his father's heart to allow his son to find love. And he did. He did find love.
Wow.
And I'm saying you have to talk to the parents, because our generation, the younger generation, are breaking some of the rules in the Indian culture, for our friend out there, in the Persian, because I work with Armenian and Persian and all the different cultures, and many of them want them to stick with that religion, and if they don't, they do the money game with their kids. And some of them are saying, I want love over money, I don't care. So just beware, how's it going to affect your family?
Obviously, this is something that should be talked about in great depth in the beginning of that relationship, right?
Absolutely. Even the women in Russia and Ukraine, many of them are very spiritual women, and they only want you to love God, so it might not be as strict. So it all depends on how they were raised. It all depends on how they were. That's why I say go meet the girl's mom, go meet her grandparents, find out where her soul and her evolving soul came from, so that you can see if your lifestyles and your religious beliefs will match, because it is going to make a difference in the long haul with love. Because I'm really big into prayer and meditation. I do both. And I still believe in Jesus, and I work with Christians, I work with Muslims, I work with all different people, because it really is one universal power that I believe exists. And so I can kind of mold working with different cultures, but you have to make sure you and your wife are going to mold with the families, because you're marrying into a culture.
A lot of pressure on a couple if the families aren't all on board and everybody's in the same place. So
that's right.
Mac is asking, what are some of the big put-offs of, in this case, Ukrainian-Russian women? What are things that put Ukrainian-Russian women off? But you've probably experienced patterns of behavior that men exhibit that just put women off, right? Other than possibly being self-absorbed and maybe negative about previous relationships and that kind of thing.
Bragging up front, I have this, I have that. It's really not, I think women get turned off to that. They know that men that go on these trips are successful, and that they're going, are there for a serious goal. And I think the men get nervous, so they start to kind of upsell, everything that they have right away, instead of like seeing if there's a connection.
Sure.
I think that they don't like cursing. They want eye to eye. They want you to look. They want you to look at them in the eye. They want you to connect, and they don't like pivot. I call it pivot heads. Now, when you go there, there's women everywhere, and I know a lot of the guys say, "Oh my God, I go into a room. There's all these women, and there's only 20 guys or 30 guys, and there's hundreds of women or 150. Right? Isn't that the average?
Right, at least.
So what happens is the men start to get kind of like, I call it pivot heading. They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So they have like attention deficit disorder. So if you are focusing on someone, you're going to need to communicate, remember their name, try to take notes if possible when you meet somebody that you like when you go on these trips, so that you can remember facts, that she's a nurse, so that when you speak to her again, you don't confuse her with the other 5 women that you may have been talking about. But I think most importantly, and maybe you can address this because you go on the trips, is to really be fully present with a woman when you're there, and not have the roaming eye and then, and so it makes women feel like they're being dismissed.
Right. And you can imagine the environment that we create is a lot of fun, but it's also very unique. There are, 150, 200 very beautiful women in the room, 30 guys, right?
You could totally lose it. You could totally lose your concentration.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
But if you manage to keep your focus on the person you're talking to in front of you, whatever it takes, that's definitely going to be noticed, and that'll leave a good impression.
Well, the other thing, though, I think that many of the guys I talk to, a lot of them before they go on trips, during the trips, they're on WhatsApp saying this happened and that happened, is that they meet 2 or 3 women during a trip, and this used to happen in rapid dating too. This is where knowing yourself and your core values is key. Because the beauty is one thing. The physical beauty of many of these women from all different parts of the world is astounding, and the guys kind of get, whoa. They're like, whoa, like how do I choose? It's all about what does your gut say, not just, wow, this woman's sexy, wow, she dresses well. That's only one aspect of love. This is depth. This is going into the depths of you and her living a lifestyle together, and whether you might live on a horse farm in Idaho. I don't know where you live, but you need to be able to present your life as something wonderful, and see if the responses that you're going to get from the women, no matter what they look like, are they going to want to live in that? Are they going to want to live your lifestyle? So you should be very comfortable with expressing that.
And I suppose that there are things that could be very of value or interesting to women from other cultures that may not necessarily fly here in our culture. So sometimes guys are just confused about whether they can be confident or should be confident. But the great thing about what we do, guys, when you open up the borders, when you get in a plane and fly it somewhere and land it pretty much in any direction, it's a big world full of all kinds of wonderful, lonely people. And it's not hard to find somebody with whom you have a great deal of compatibility with. I wonder how often men find women who are 50% of what they're really looking for. And I suppose women do the same thing, right? So sometimes we've got our clearly defined list, but we haven't found somebody who's all of that list or even most of that list. Is it dangerous to find somebody who's definitely half of that list, but there's a lot of gray area there?
Well, it just depends on what that gray area is. If your focus is to have kids and somebody's on the fence about it, you need to be serious. I mean, it even happened to me. When I met my husband, I said to him, I'm on the edge of having the kids, and I said, and you're in the middle of a divorce. So you're meeting people in all different phases of love. So it's all about being honest and real about how long it would take. For example, like if you meet a woman that has children over there, or you meet a woman that wants children, and you've already had 2 kids that might be, you know, she might be close to their age even, you know, and do you really want to have a child? So you have to be honest with yourself about what the top things that you're looking for. Some of the other things will come because you have to build a foundation of trust. You have to build friendship and see, you know, food. I mean, all the different parts of our lives, eating and all of that. But there is no one perfect. There's no perfect soul. I mean, there's soulmates. I do believe that there can be one, like some people go, well, there's only one person in the whole universe and you have to go through the whole world. I disagree with that. I think that there's all different types of soulmates, friendships, and then love relationships that you could have maybe when you were younger and then as you get older. But now that you're in the position to be able to afford a trip like this, it's not about finding perfection, it's finding the value match so that you can build something strong. And so you may not have everything perfect. It's not going to be, well, she has to have, you know, she has to be 5'2", you know, all these like things. It's about, does she make you feel good about yourself? Do you have fun together when you're together? Do you feel that comfort, like that feeling of like, wow, I could just breathe and just be, rather than just like always having to be on the edge. You understand?
Sure, sure.
And men get blindsided by beauty when they see something that they fantasized about for so many years sitting right in front of them. The next one that they meet the next day could be more compatible to them, but they're still dreaming about the breasts that they saw on the woman the night before. So it's like, get real with yourself. It isn't just about sex. This is about connection. It's about spiritual connection for women. They want to feel safe. They want to feel that you're going to be able to provide security for them, and to remember that they're leaving a country to come to America. So if they don't feel like you really are happy with your life, then they might be a little off, like thinking, oh God, I don't know. You know, I don't know if I want to go where there's no other people around and I'm going to live in the middle of nowhere. So it's all the way you market it and you talk about yourself to see if they are on a level of what you have to offer, so that you're not just blindsided by beauty and think, oh, I can make her happy when she's there. It has to be happening as you're courting and going through the 90-day process and all those other things that are happening. That's what I feel. Positive
projection is very, very important, because women, as Renee just pointed out, and I see this all the time at our social events when someone's talking too much about their divorce or too much about a bad experience, women are looking for calm, balanced confidence. They're looking to a certain extent for the most interesting man, right? That Dos Equis guy who's calm and suave and masculine, a little smile, a little playfulness. And
I know him.
Everybody's got, you know him. Which one? You know, the older one or the newer one?
The one that just got, he actually lost his job. He went to our gym. And I'm like, I know that guy. He's the Dos Equis guy. And he's a short guy. He's only he's probably 5'8", maybe 5'8". Very handsome dude, very fun, and here he became the sexiest man in the world, right? And he really is. He's charismatic, and he has that joy about life, and of course, because he's making millions of dollars off of his commercials, but more than that, he just has that that magnetism. Women want the magnetism, but that comes from the inner core of your soul. That isn't just about finding a woman to bring that to you. That's about you going to a place with the love that you're wanting to get. So when you're fun and you feel comfortable in your own skin, and some men that have been in the game, married for a long time, they're not sure how to talk to women. They really don't have much game. They have to learn how to converse and talk about asking questions about them instead of telling them your problems, because they're going to ask, what happened with your wife? So those answers sometimes bring you down the tunnel of hell, because then they start asking, well, what happened? What did you do? They're finding out, how did you treat her when you exited? Because many of these women have been hurt over there too. It's not like they're just over there waiting for an American man. Many of them have broken hearts as well, because I've spoken to many of them.
Right, sure.
I've spoken to many of them, and they want a man with a plan. They want a man that knows what he wants. They don't want to come over here and give up their families and all of that to come here to not have a real connection. So they're looking for you to guide them in that direction.
They're looking for a man who's ready, ready for love, without barriers, without baggage. So we all have a little bit of baggage. We just have to know where to put it, where to file it, so that it doesn't impact our daily conversations and our daily lives and our activities and our love
relationships. Well, that's going to come in natural conversations as you get to know somebody. And my husband was married twice before, and people would say, what are you, crazy? You're going to marry somebody that has been married twice before? I said, he's learned lessons from those marriages. If you can learn the lessons, even though if it was painful from a breakup or a heartbreak, which is really my specialty, is to help people to open their hearts to love. Because it's so important. Just because you had a couple bad relationships doesn't mean that the future is going to be dim. It means that you have to do some inner evaluation about how it became that way. How did your marriage go stale because you worked and worked and worked? And you said, men always say to me, well, I gave her everything she ever wanted, but you weren't home. Well, hello? If you weren't home, who cares that she could go buy herself anything? This is what I hear all the time. I gave her cars, I gave her this, I gave her that. There was a man at this conference, and he goes, my wife, she was very mad at me. I gave her everything. And I said, well, did you cheat on her? And he looked down, and I knew he did. So I said, did you cheat on her? And he goes, well, it wasn't really cheating. It was just sex. And I said, you cheated on her. He goes, but she had the cars and the houses, and I gave her this and that and that. I said, but she knew you were cheating on her. So who's wrong in this situation? I said, take a look at the man in the mirror, right? So learn your lessons and grow from them, and don't turn into a 5-year-old when you're going on dates, because these women are here, they're very serious. They're here to meet potential husbands, and they want love. They want real love. And maybe you'll notice that their hearts might be broken. So make it a little yield sign to go a little slower with the process, or if somebody's really bubbly and warm, and there's that magic that just happens. It just happens, and when it happens, it's like boom. And it's because you are ready. Your heart is open. Your soul is going, you know what, I'm going to take another chance and do this. Because if you fail in business, you don't just stop your business, right? If you fail, your business, listen, I've reinvented. What I am is a relationship reinvention person, helping people to reinvent the way that they're looking at how they're dating, how they're loving, even with your family. So, when I work with people, I say, ask your friends what they think about you. Ask the people closest to you. What was it, or people that you might have dated. I went back and asked men that I dated what it was like, and they said, you were too busy and you didn't seem like you had any time. And I was like, wow, really?
That was a revelation for you.
It was a big, I thought the more that I was successful, the more people I put together, the more times I was flying out to do television, and that's how I met Ken. I was the spokesperson for a singles convention, and he was a sponsor. And we met there, and I was running rapid dating on the rooftop in Los Angeles of the car museum, and he's like, who the hell are you? I was like this, flying up and down, up and down. And when men met me, that's how I seemed. Now, I thought they would get excited by my career and everything. They didn't want that. They wanted somebody that wanted love. And I realized that I was responsible for me not finding love. It was me. So if something has blocked you in the past, a part of it's a part of you that you're not aware that you're projecting. So when people come to me, that's why they come to me, because I go, you want to get real? I'll tell you what I see, but you might not want to hear it. And sometimes people get upset, but it changes the way that they look at themselves, because there's something special about you. You wouldn't be here if you weren't looking for love. And this company's help. I mean, even the owners, when I met them, I was like, all right, does this really work? You want me to coach people, right? Okay, well, let me meet. They both are married, successful marriages with children. And now I just met William with his new baby, with his wife from Thailand, and Greg, who used to be the videographer here, he met his wife. And I was like, oh my God, all the people here. So when I finally got married, people were like, well, finally the love guru got married. But that's been now 15 years I've been with my husband. So I know that it was me that stopped it. So if there's something blocking you, then you need to take a good look at the man in the mirror.
Can't always see the thing that we're projecting so obviously to other people sometimes, right? Feedback is so important, guys, and it takes a real man to ask for it, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, some questions. Ron says, I'm 60 years old. Is there any hope for me? I might like to start a family. Are there women out there who might be interested in starting a family with a gentleman my age?
Well, I mean, that's a tough one. You know, a lot of guys come to me that are in their 50s and 60s. I say yes, but sometimes you got to look at the reality. Why not marry somebody that has a child so that you could have your years, like I say, okay, you're 60 now, your son or daughter, by the time you do the visa, get married, you may have a few years, you're going to be 82 when you're going to their graduation. Why not marry someone that has a child, possibly, and then have those years to travel and go and play, you know, or adopt a child so that you don't have to go through all that and meet somebody that's maybe in their 40s that already has their life together. And many of the guys did that I've coached. Or yes, there are women that would be willing, but they'll probably be a little bit older. Or if you're really a sharp-looking, younger-looking, energy guy, absolutely,
you got game.
Yes. I live in LA. There's 65-year-olds married to 25-year-olds in LA, and I got to tell you, yes, it is possible. Yes, it's possible, but it all depends on how you come across. So if you come across as an older guy that doesn't have a lot of energy, because you're going to need it if you have a baby, I say you should go for it. I say you should go for your dream, but you have to be able to speak the language of a woman to feel that she's going to have the stability and somebody that's going to be around, you know, to take care of her and the child. So I say yes.
Nice. Nice. So Patrick says, hey Renee, thanks for your help. We worked together in the past. I'm now engaged to my fiance from the Philippines. Thanks for helping me get confident to search for the right woman. Now I know this Patrick, he's an outstanding guy. But I could tell from the first time I just heard him on the phone that he needed to come out of his shell a little bit, and you probably really helped him do that. He said, this girl totally completes who I am, and I complete her. Wouldn't have met her without your help from Patrick. So.
Oh, Patrick, you have to send me pictures. I can't believe it. I know that this was in the making, and he always follows me on my Facebook and my Instagram. He's a wonderful, wonderful soul, and I cannot wait to see your pictures. And there's another gentleman that I helped, Chris, who lives in Colorado. He's super, super happy.
Oh, yeah. I know
and
Chris.
now he's friends with another man that's going over there. So they actually met there, and his wife introduced him to some of her friends. So the world is a huge place, and everyone in this world wants love. Everyone. So if you're open, the more you're open, like Patrick, you did so much hard work on the shy part of you to be able to speak, and he got his home together. We got him some new clothes over the internet. We only met over the internet. It was awesome, and he's such a darling. So I'm so happy. I need some pictures now. This makes my whole trip.
We need to gloat, Patrick. Send us pictures so we can gloat, because we love to gloat.
I love that.
Somebody
else? Wow, we're getting some
yeah, we got all kinds of stuff coming in here. Guys, I'm going to take Renee-oriented questions first. I'll give them a priority. We got about 15 minutes for you to get your questions in, if you have them. Robert is asking, when you're working with a girl, how does working with a translator or a matchmaker change the dynamic of what you're trying to project to the girl?
Well, I think you might even be better at this, but for what I've heard, if you have a good connection with the translator, and she feels your vibe, she's going to be translating that to the person. So it's an energy between the translator, because I know Chris, when he went over, and the different clients that I've had that I've worked with, they love the translators. And when you feel, it's like a match with a translator too. So make sure you get the right translator that you feel that vibe with, because she's basically translating your words. So make sure that the words that come out of your mouth are really powerful words, like, I'm a one-man woman and I'm looking for the love of my life, and I've prepared my home, and I'm ready for a wife that wants children. So when she says, do you want children? How many? You know, is your home ready? Where do you live? What kind of lifestyle? You'll be prepared in advance, so that you're basically marketing and branding to the translator, and she's then translated. But if you go, yeah, I have a nice business and it's really good, she might say, this guy's really boring and I don't know. The tone of your voice is really key to women. I don't care what language they speak. And I've worked with a lot of guys, because you listen to their voicemail, hello, this is John, please leave a message. You know, it sounds monotone, so you have to work on the melody of your voice, because the translator is translating, but the woman is listening to your voice. So it's really important.
So I tell guys, we always have some fun. Most of the guys on my tours are really fun guys, and there's always a moment when we're riding a bus from our hotel to wherever we're having our social party. It's about a 20-minute ride most of the time. And I would tell the guys, right now there's a translator standing in the doorway of our social venue, and she's holding a piece of paper with your name on it. She has no idea who you are. And I promise you, she's thinking, please be a nice guy. Please be a good guy. Please be a sweetheart. Please don't be boring. Please don't be a bastard. Just be a good guy. And if you show up and you smile and, hi, what's your name? Svetlana, I'm so glad you're my translator tonight. I need a lot of help, and I'm sure you can help me. Just smile and be friendly. Before we even get going, tell me a little bit about you. How did you become a translator? You know, what have you seen? What advice would you give me right up front? And just be friendly, and your night is golden from that point forward, guys. The translators are always nervous. They want to do a good job. They want to help you. They want to help the women. And when you show up and you're calm and smiling and friendly, that is such a gift for the translators. They'll be excited to work for you, as Renee pointed out. You absolutely want an advocate, not just a translator and a matchmaker, but somebody who really does believe in you and what you're saying about yourself, so she can help deliver that message to the women that you're meeting.
Well, you know, even from the first start of calling here and the staff here, they're working with you. Everybody here is so friendly. And even when I walked in today, I was like, hey, I didn't know some of the new people, the new camera guys doing all these great videos for you, Bud. Good for you. Yeah. He's awesome. And just everybody here, the spirit is really high. They're here committed to helping you work, make it work for you with all the people that they've put into all these cities from around the world. Can you imagine? I mean, when I call and I'm like, well, Ken is here and John's here and they're over here and they're there. And I'm like, oh my God, how do they do this? It's a passion. It's not just something that they do. It's a passion for everybody here. And everybody here is really cool in the back end. So the girls over there that are translating, they're a part of the team. Absolutely.
You've got some great books.
Yeah.
You've got some really great resources. So guys, Renee, you can just feel her energy, right? It's impossible, you know, you and Bob Ray, I swear to God, both of you drink, I don't know, coffee probably drinks both of you to stay awake, I guess, but you are just like human caffeine, you know, that it's impossible to be next to Renee and not just feel that vibe and that energy. But here's the thing, guys, a lot of us are stuck out there in our quiet little room at night, peering into our computer, slowly going blind in the darkness, writing some letter to someone whose voice we don't know, whose last name we don't know, and we're just stuck in that virtual relationship rut. And it takes a real paradigm shift to break out of that. And once you do, you need someone with Renee's passion and Renee's energy. And nobody wants a dull, boring dating coach, right? You need somebody who can be passionate about you and can raise that energy level inside you. So Renee has some great ideas and some great resources. And I want you to just tell these guys what you have to offer them, Renee, because I know there are men that are out there that would love to work with you.
I've worked with men for 29 years. It kind of happened by accident. I was doing a makeover segment for a class 29 years ago. How to pick up girls, and all the guys were raising their hand asking me the questions, and the company was called the Learning Annex, and they have them in New York and LA, and the guys all started asking me questions, and they said, would you be my coach? Now this was way before all this whole business started. And I said, absolutely. So that started, it was a mission. So I ended up getting asked to come and teach because I had such a passion for it. And back then I wrote this book. It was, gosh, I don't know how many years ago. It's called Love Mechanics, The Power Tools to Build Successful Relationships. This teaches you about getting your home together, your questions together, your vision together. But I just realized that men didn't have official Prince training. Women believe that you do. So if you're interested, you can call me for a 15-minute free consultation. I'll see what your challenge is, or you can call me for an evaluation. And people call me for 90 minutes. I record your voice, and then we do an evaluation of where you are, where you want to be, and I can give you a step-by-step action plan and the books as a part of it. So and then this is my newest book, my Get Real About Love book. Getting real to see if your heart is really open and understand your lineage and the way your role modeling occurred in your life, because if you had crappy role models, you're going to get crappy results. You have to have role models in your life. And that's why women band together and we go to these seminars. Go to Bud's seminar. Go to their seminars. Sometimes I'm there. These guys have a lot of information to teach you about confidence building, and I do too. So I actually have a Secrets into the Minds of Women. It's $20. It's coming up in May. It's only $20. And that way you can see if you like me, and I'll give you lots of information. But I am on a passionate quest because the women of the world are disappointed that the men haven't learned this stuff. And if you want power and you want to build confidence, then do what women do. Investigate the most important decision of your life, picking somebody to love, right? Most guys will spend more in a golf club or a computer or a phone. Think about it. And they're on their phones 24 hours a day, and they spend $1,000 on their Samsung or their iPhone, depending on which one you like, because my husband likes Samsung. We fight about it. And you're not even thinking about a decision that could affect every single day of your life. So take time out to reflect, read some books. There's other great coaches in the world too, but these guys picked me. So
because we're smart.
Oh, you're
smart guys, Renee.
Smart. But I just love what I do, and if you can't feel my passion, it isn't just coffee, it's love. Because, and I do want to say this, and I don't even know if you know this. A few years ago, I had a tooth infection that nearly killed me, and I got an aneurysm in my arm, and I lost my voice. And when that happened, and I just wanted to say this is really important, and Ken knows this, I had a look of what it could, because I got toxic blood poisoning and I almost died. So while I was sick, I was watching the world fly by, like at hyperspeed. So I invite all of you guys, if you're watching this, slow down, do some reflection, because this company is here to help you find love. They're not just bullshitters. This is like a real thing. And when if you really look at life, it's like this. It can be taken from you in an instant. Then my husband got hit by a car. It happened to both of us.
Wow.
At the same time a few years ago. And when that happened, we both decided that we were going to live life to the fullest, because you never know when you're going to go. So I invite all of you to take this time today to reflect. Are you happy? Have you done enough study about the way women think? Because that's my whole body of work. Both of these books, they're on Amazon. You can listen to me if you like listening. I did audio, Kindle. I'm getting ready to download Love Mechanics, and I have a new one coming out for women. But my body of work is really important for you to look at your patterns that keep you in a loop of sadness. And if you don't get out of it and have an openness, you're going to miss flirting. You're going to miss women that are looking at you from across the room. You won't even believe that women are interested because you have this stupid negative voice. Or you're working so much to pretend that you're not lonely, and you use your work to stop you. So don't do that. Don't do that anymore. Do reading, and whether you read my books, and if you do, please let me know, because when I sell these on Amazon, I never know who the people are. And then I get letters from all these people. Oh my God, this book changed my life. I've had suicidal people call me from I have blogs all over the place. You can read it all. It's all free. I have a lot of free stuff too. But if you really are serious and you want love, you should sign up with these guys, have me help you get ready. And I got to tell you, after that happened to me, I'm here with so much more passion, because life can be gone like that. And now I'm back, and I'm back with fury. And people need to get real that you're doing this to yourself, and to have a company to go to all this trouble to help you to meet people. And women all over the world are looking for amazing husbands and amazing love. And the women in America have been a little disappointed because if you really think about it, and this is something really cool, because I work with every generation of daters in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. You all learn different things from whoever you were raised by. So you guys that are in their 50s and 60s, you were raised by old school, old-fashioned moms. The women in America have been trained differently because they saw their mothers sitting home, not working, not having money, and they became very strong. But the men weren't learning what we were learning. So if the women you're dating are 10 years younger, many times they have a whole different perspective than you do. So if you don't get real about how they think, you're not going to win in the game of love. You have to study the way women think. And the women in European countries are more, some different countries, others are, you know, the Chinese women are very nurturing, the Thai women are very nurturing. The women are different in every country, and you probably would have a great perspective on that. But culturally, you know, many of them are into serving you and all that. Many of those women over there have become Wonder Women too. So you need to learn about that and learn to like identify the type of woman that you want, because some men love independent business women, and that's what I am. And I told my husband, if you sign up for this job, you got to let me share my love and my passion with the world. And if you don't want to do that, then don't marry me. So if you meet a woman like that and she says that, or you're like that and you say, listen, I'm a businessman, but I want to slow down and travel with my wife and have a fun time, or I want to raise children, and you're very clear, then you're going to magnetize somebody that's equal with what you are. But don't go over to another country expecting a little housewife to come and clean your kitchen and give you sex every day and sweep your floors while you're at work and never coming home. Because they want a partner. They want a life partner. They don't want just a man with a job. They want a man with a heart. And
this is a lot of great things, but it's not I Dream of Jeannie necessarily. But,
no, but I'm saying
but love is out there for you, definitely, guys.
Love is everywhere, and the women want a man like you, a man with a plan, a man that knows what he wants. But more importantly, when you speak to those interpreters and they ask you a couple questions, the women are going to feel your vibes. And if your heart's sort of like this, then the women are going to go, I don't think so. I don't think so. So get real about where you are and learn about the minds of women, and I'm here to help you in any way that I can. So get in touch with me at Renee@reneepiane.com, and I can help you anytime. And I hope that this, I didn't really want to take it down that lane, but I want them to know life is so precious. So take this time to go, wow, I'm going to live it full on, go on a trip. You'll learn so much about yourself from these guys. You'll have an experience that'll change the way you think about dating, to see that there's so many people in the world that want love, and that all you have to do is get ready for it.
Be open, be ready, and be in the know, guys. Renee's great. You can work with her directly, and you can find Renee's books on Amazon. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. It's nice to see you again. I'm glad you're back. Your energy is so contagious.
I'm back, and we're going to be filming. I'm going to be filming with Keith.
Good stuff coming up for you guys.
Wait, and I love you all. And just remember, keep your heart open to love, because there's so many women that are just wishing for a man like you to come into their life.
Well said and true, guys. We'll be back 1 week from tonight with another great webcast for you. Some great information, some great topics. If you need anything in the meantime, it's Bud at Loveme.com. Thank you guys for watching tonight. We'll see you soon.